Welcome to Pages to Dialogues, your premier destination for insightful discussions on Christian books. Join me as we delve into the pages of thought-provoking Christian literature and explore the timeless truths and principles that can transform our lives. From classic devotionals to contemporary bestsellers, we'll engage in meaningful dialogues that will inspire, encourage, and challenge you to grow deeper in your faith. So, subscribe to Pages to Dialogues now and join the conversation. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you can stay updated on new episodes and exclusive content. Let's turn pages into conversations that matter.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are diving into the world of church growth.
Oh, yeah.
And it really doesn't matter if you are a pastor or a church leader or just someone who's interested in seeing, how churches can thrive and grow.
Yeah.
This episode is for you.
Absolutely.
We are doing a deep dive on Overcoming Barriers to Church Growth by Michael Fletcher.
Great book.
Yeah, it's packed with advice.
Yeah.
And it's endorsed by
huge names.
Yeah, big names like Dr. Che Ahn,
right,
and Bob Roberts Jr.
Yeah.
So many churches struggle to grow, and
Yeah,
we're going to figure out why that is, and more importantly, what to do about it.
Yeah, you know what I think is fascinating about Fletcher's approach is that he doesn't just offer surface level strategies,
Yeah.
He kind of goes deeper.
To the core?
To the core of leadership. Yeah. And specifically, he talks about how leadership fueled by vision and faith is absolutely essential for growth.
Yeah, and he doesn't just throw around the word vision.
No.
He actually breaks down the difference between a dream and a vision.
That's right.
He says a dream without faith
is
just a fantasy.
Right.
But a vision infused with faith becomes a statement of what God will do.
100%. And he uses this powerful analogy to illustrate this.
Oh, yeah.
He compares it to a king searching for a hidden treasure.
I love that.
It takes real effort and prayer and a wrestling with God to uncover his plan.
It's not passive.
No, it's active seeking.
It's active, yeah. And it's interesting how he emphasizes the solitary nature of this vision formation.
Yes.
He points to the example of Moses.
Right.
And how God consistently chooses one leader to receive and articulate that vision.
Yeah.
And it makes you think about the individual responsibility.
Absolutely.
It does.
It really does. And then he introduces this threefold law of vision.
Okay.
Using the story of Nehemiah.
Yeah.
Rebuilding Jerusalem's walls.
Okay.
I think this framework is incredibly helpful for understanding how vision translates into action.
Yeah. Okay, so break it down for me.
Okay.
How does Nehemiah's story illustrate this threefold law?
Okay, so first there's articulation.
Yeah.
Nehemiah doesn't just assume that everyone understands the vision.
Right.
He very carefully and clearly articulates it.
Okay.
And he paints a picture of what's possible.
Right.
And makes sure that everybody grasps the significance of rebuilding the wall.
So it's not enough to have a vision in your head.
Yeah.
You have to communicate it in a way that inspires and motivates others.
Exactly. And then there's the law of unification,
Okay.
which I find really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Nehemiah waits for the people to rally around the vision.
So he doesn't force it on them.
No, he doesn't,
Okay.
but allows them to embrace it.
To make it their own.
As their own, yeah.
Yeah.
And he fosters this sense of shared ownership.
So it's about building consensus and creating buy-in.
Yes.
Making sure everyone's on board.
Right.
Before you move forward.
Precisely. And only then, when the people are united, does he actually mobilize them to action.
So that's the mobilization.
The law of mobilization, yes.
Yeah.
So the rebuilding of the wall becomes a collective effort.
Yeah.
Bringing the vision to life.
Through the work of the whole community. So it's a reminder that church growth isn't a solo endeavor.
Right.
It requires a leader to cast the vision.
Yes.
But it also demands participation.
Absolutely.
And buy-in of the entire congregation.
100%. And this leads us to another crucial aspect of church growth.
Okay.
That Fletcher explores, which are the stages of growth.
Yeah.
And the tension points that arise when churches hit those inevitable growth barriers.
Right.
And he shares some personal anecdotes from his early days as a pastor. And
right.
admits to some pretty significant mistakes he made.
Yeah.
Because he didn't understand these dynamics of growth and how leadership structures need to adapt.
I think that's so valuable.
Yeah.
Having a leader who's willing to admit their mistakes and share what they learned.
Absolutely.
And makes the whole process so much more relatable.
Yeah.
And less intimidating.
100%. And what's interesting is how he connects the growth of the church to the growth of a human body.
Okay.
Just like a body can't grow by simply adding more skin and muscle.
Right.
A church can't grow by just adding more members.
Right.
the internal systems have to evolve as well.
Yeah, he zeroes in on these crucial transition points, like the 100-200 barrier and the 700-800 barrier.
Exactly.
And explains how they necessitate shifts in leadership structure.
Yes.
And he also points out something that I thought was really helpful.
Yeah.
This distinction between active members
yes.
and those who are just on the membership rolls.
Yeah, that's a much more accurate way to assess true growth.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's getting at the heart of what it means to be an engaged member of a church community.
Right.
Not just someone who shows up occasionally.
Right, or has their name on a list.
Exactly. And to explain how churches actually grow, he uses this image of fellowship circles.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What are fellowship circles and how do they relate to church growth?
He says that a small church operates like one big fellowship circle where everybody knows everybody.
Right.
But in order to grow beyond a certain point, that circle needs to multiply, delegating leadership and ministry, empowering others to lead and shepherd.
So instead of one giant circle trying to accommodate everyone, you create smaller, more intimate circles.
That's right, like cells dividing in biology, and each of those smaller circles has the potential to grow and multiply and create this network of interconnected communities. And then at that 700, 800 barrier, it's like you're forming circles of circles, which requires even more delegation and a more complex leadership structure.
So it's a continual process of adaptation and evolution.
Exactly.
Recognizing that what works at one stage might not work at another.
Precisely. But you can imagine these transitions aren't always smooth.
Right.
Fletcher acknowledges these tension points that arise when churches are going through these changes.
Sure.
And he emphasizes that change is a process, not an event.
Okay. So how does he suggest navigating these transitions without creating chaos or division within the church?
Well, he points out that tension manifests differently at each stage. For example, at the 100-200 mark, elders often feel the greatest pressure.
Oh, interesting.
Because their roles are shifting from being hands-on in ministry to overseeing it, which can be a difficult adjustment for some.
It requires a shift in mindset.
Yes.
From being the primary doer to being the equipper and the overseer.
Exactly.
Making sure the right people are in the right roles.
Yes.
And everything's aligned with the vision.
100%. And then at the 700, 800 mark, it's often the pastor and the staff who feel overwhelmed by the growing complexity of managing multiple ministries and a larger congregation.
It becomes more like running a corporation.
Yes.
Where delegation and clear lines of responsibility are essential.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's a constant balancing act.
Yes.
Figuring out how to maintain that sense of community and personal connection.
Yeah.
While also creating systems that can support a growing and increasingly complex organization.
Exactly. And to navigate these transitions effectively, Fletcher highlights 3 key areas that churches need to address.
Okay. Lay it on me.
Problem, paradigm, and personnel.
Problem, paradigm, and personnel.
Okay.
Unpack those for me.
All right. So first, you have to clearly define the problem.
Okay.
This requires open communication with both the elders and the congregation.
All right. So what are the specific challenges?
Yes. What are they facing?
You're facing.
Are certain ministries falling through the cracks? Are people feeling disconnected? Are leaders feeling overwhelmed?
So you got to be honest with yourselves about the challenges you're facing.
100%.
Not trying to sweep them under the rug.
Exactly.
Or pretend they don't exist.
Right. And once you've identified the problem, you can start to shift the paradigm, which is the way people think about leadership and ministry.
Gotcha.
This might involve helping elders understand that delegating isn't about losing control, but about empowering others to serve, or helping the congregation understand that as the church grows, the pastor's role will naturally evolve.
So challenging those old ways of thinking.
Yes.
And embracing new models that are more appropriate for a growing church.
Exactly. And then there's the personnel aspect, which is all about making sure you have the right people in the right positions to effectively implement the vision and manage the growing complexity of the church.
So it's about identifying potential leaders, providing them with the necessary training and support.
Yes.
And creating a culture that values
and
empowers leadership at all levels.
Exactly. Recognizing that leadership development is an ongoing process, not a one-time event.
Now, I'm sure there are people listening who are thinking, okay, this all sounds great, but what about the practical realities?
Yes.
What about the concerns that people have about these kinds of transitions?
Right.
What does he say to that?
Well, Fletcher addresses some of those head-on.
Okay.
He talks about the tension between legalism and grace, the challenge of attracting and imprinting new leaders with the church's DNA, and the importance of accountability and vision.
These are all real and valid concerns that churches grapple with, especially as they grow.
Yes.
So let's dive into those, starting with this tension between legalism and grace.
Okay.
How does Fletcher address that?
Well, he emphasizes that shifting leadership structures doesn't mean discarding people who don't immediately adapt. It's not about creating a rigid hierarchy where everyone has to fit into a neat little box. It's about leading with grace and understanding, recognizing that people adapt to change at different rates.
So creating space for people to process and adjust while still moving forward as a community.
He uses a great analogy comparing it to a garden.
Oh, I love that.
Where you wouldn't expect every plant to grow at the same pace. Or in the same way. Some need more sun, some need more water, but they all need nurturing and care.
That's a beautiful analogy. And it brings up another concern that Fletcher addresses. This challenge of attracting new leaders. How does he suggest churches go about finding and developing new leaders?
He offers a really interesting perspective on this. He believes that the problem isn't necessarily a lack of leaders, but a lack of perception. Leaders are often made, not born. And it's about identifying potential and creating a culture that fosters growth.
So instead of waiting for those superstar leaders to magically appear, you're actively cultivating leadership within the existing congregation.
Exactly. It's about spotting those hidden gems.
I like that.
And giving them opportunities to shine.
And this ties into this idea of imprinting new leaders with the church's DNA. Passing on those core values, the philosophy and the culture that make that church unique.
Exactly, like passing on family traditions, ensuring that the essence of the church is preserved even as it grows and evolves.
Ensuring continuity and preserving the heart of the church.
100%. And finally, Fletcher stresses the importance of accountability and vision for new leaders, providing them with ongoing training and support, and creating regular opportunities for them to connect with the senior pastor and the overall vision.
So it's about making sure those new leaders feel connected to the bigger picture. The why behind the work.
Exactly.
It's about preventing them from feeling isolated.
That's right.
Or like they're just cogs in a machine.
Exactly. It's about fostering a sense of belonging and purpose. Reminding them that they're part of something bigger than themselves.
Absolutely.
All
right, so we've laid the foundation.
Yes, we have.
We've talked about vision leadership and navigating those transitions.
That's right.
And we've addressed some of those common concerns.
We have.
But now let's get even more practical.
Okay.
Let's talk about how to actually apply these principles.
All right. I'm ready.
In our churches.
Let's do it.
What to do if your church isn't growing.
Okay, sounds good. Welcome back to our deep dive into overcoming barriers to church growth.
Last time we explored kind of those foundational elements of vision. Leadership structure.
That's right.
Navigating those tricky transitions that come with growth. And we talked about some of those common concerns that arise during transition.
We did.
Like that tension between maintaining grace while implementing new systems. Or the challenge of finding and equipping new leaders.
Absolutely.
But now let's get even more practical.
Okay.
Let's say you're listening to this and you're thinking, okay, this all sounds good in theory. But how do I actually apply this to my church? Where do I even begin?
Fletcher tackles that question head on. With a chapter dedicated to churches that aren't experiencing growth.
Oh, wow.
And he offers some really insightful and actionable advice. Breaking it down into 3 key areas. The front door, functions and operations, and back door.
Right, so let's walk through these one by one, starting with the front door. What exactly does Fletcher mean by that?
He's referring to the church's ability to attract newcomers, to create this inviting atmosphere that draws people in. He argues that before you even think about overhauling internal structures or programs, You need to assess how effective your front door is.
Yeah, so it's about making sure the church is visible and engaging the community, making it clear that you have something to offer.
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
And he starts by emphasizing the importance of lead count.
Lead count, okay.
The number of visitors you have each week.
Okay.
He actually compares it to a successful transmission shop owner who attributed his success to having the best lead count in town.
So in a way, it's like thinking of your church as a business.
That's a good way to think about it.
Yeah.
You need to attract customers. In this case, visitors.
Yeah, if you're not attracting new people, focusing solely on those internal systems isn't going to solve the problem.
Exactly. It's like having a fantastic product, but no marketing strategy.
Okay. So what are some of the specific strategies Fletcher recommends for boosting those visitor numbers?
Well, he suggests targeted advertising campaigns that focus on meeting community needs.
Okay, give me an example.
Like, if your community has a lot of single parents, you might consider advertising a support group or a parenting class.
Okay.
It's about being strategic and relevant to the needs of the people around you.
So it's not just about putting like a generic ad in the paper.
No.
It's about really understanding your community and tailoring your outreach.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. He also suggests things like friend days or special events that appeal to a wider audience.
Okay, like what?
Think concerts, festivals, or even community service projects.
Okay.
It's about getting your name out there and showing people what you're all about.
And he talks a lot about servant evangelism, too.
Yes. Putting your faith into action. Demonstrating God's love in tangible ways.
Exactly. And, of course, he emphasizes the importance of effective invitations.
Yes.
Both general invitations to just visit the church.
Yeah.
And then more specific invitations to those events that might pique people's interest.
Exactly.
So it's about making it easy for people to say yes, giving them a clear and compelling reason to come check things out.
100%. But, getting people through the door is only half the battle.
That's true.
The next step is making sure they feel welcome and want to come back.
Okay.
And that's where assimilation comes in.
And this is where things get really interesting.
Yes.
Because Fletcher gets into some very specific strategies for making visitors feel welcome and integrated into the church community.
He talks about the importance of first impressions, things like greeters at the door, offering guest packets with helpful information, even having a designated time during the service for welcoming visitors. He even suggests a parking lot ministry.
Okay, I'll admit, the idea of a parking lot ministry.
I know, right?
Adds a little over the top to me.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate on that? What exactly does that entail?
Well, think about it this way. When you go to a restaurant or a store, how you're greeted often sets the tone for your entire experience.
Sure.
If you're met with a smile and a genuine hello, you're immediately put at ease.
Yeah.
It's the same with church.
Right.
Having someone greet you with a smile and a friendly hello as you're pulling into the parking lot can make all the difference.
So it's not just about having people standing at the door.
Right.
It's about extending that hospitality.
Yeah, from the moment they arrive.
From the moment they arrive.
Yes.
Okay, it's those little touches that make people feel seen and valued.
Exactly. And it's not just parking lot greetings.
Right.
Fletcher talks about a system of touches, meaningful interactions that make visitors feel appreciated.
Give me some examples of these touches. What kinds of things are we talking about?
Think about a follow-up phone call from the pastor.
Yep.
A handwritten note or an invitation to a small group or social event.
Okay.
It's about going the extra mile to make people feel like they belong.
Yeah.
He also emphasizes the importance of a strong children's ministry,
okay,
pointing out how crucial it is for attracting and retaining families.
That makes sense. If the kids are happy and engaged,
yeah,
the parents are more likely to feel comfortable and want to come back.
Right. It's about creating a positive experience for the whole family.
Exactly.
And another key aspect of assimilation is having a well-designed system for gathering visitor information.
Okay.
He shares this great example of a guest card and offering system that had a 90% return rate.
Wow, a 90% return rate. That's incredible. Tell me more about that system.
It's pretty simple, really. Visitors are given a guest packet and asked to fill out a card right away. Then during the offering, they're simply asked to place the card in the offering plate.
Okay.
No money required.
So it takes away that pressure of feeling like you have to donate money.
Exactly.
Which can be a barrier for some people.
Yeah, it makes it clear that Their presence is valued regardless of their financial contribution.
Right, and it gives the church a way to follow up with them.
Exactly.
Which is crucial for building those relationships and nurturing those connections.
That's right. He talks a lot about the importance of having a clear follow-up plan.
Okay.
One that includes communication, evangelism, and those connection points we talked about earlier.
It's about having a strategy in place, not just hoping that visitors will magically integrate themselves.
Exactly. You have to be intentional about reaching out and making those connections.
And he gives some great examples of these connection points, right?
Yes.
Things like leveraging the power of food and fellowship, encouraging small groups, using ministry events as opportunities to build relationships.
It's about recognizing that people are relational beings. And that churches thrive when they prioritize those connections.
It's about that sense of community.
Yes.
So we've covered the front door, attracting new people and making them feel welcome.
Yes.
But what about that second area that Fletcher addresses, functions and operations? What does that entail?
Okay.
And how does it impact church growth? Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into overcoming barriers to church growth. We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
You know, from attracting new visitors and making them feel welcome.
Absolutely.
Optimizing internal systems and fostering a culture of connection and belonging.
Yes.
But before we wrap things up, I want to explore a few more of Fletcher's insights that I think are particularly relevant for churches today.
One of the things that really stood out to me was his emphasis on understanding the cultural context in which the church exists. He argues that churches can't afford to be stuck in the past, clinging to traditions or methods that might have worked in a previous era, but are no longer effective in reaching people in our current cultural landscape.
So it's about being culturally relevant.
Yes.
Speaking the language of the people you're trying to reach.
Yes.
Understanding their needs and aspirations.
Absolutely.
Recognizing that the world has changed. And the church needs to adapt to those changes.
It does.
If it wants to stay relevant and effective. And one of the most significant cultural shifts he points to is the rise of secularism. More and more people are viewing faith as irrelevant to their lives.
That's right.
So he challenges churches to find ways to engage with those who hold this worldview, to demonstrate the relevance of faith in a way that speaks to their lived experiences.
Absolutely.
So it's about meeting people where they are, not expecting them to conform to some outdated image of what it means to be a Christian.
Absolutely.
It's about showing them that faith can be a source of meaning and purpose in a world that often feels meaningless and chaotic.
Absolutely.
And along those lines, he talks about the importance of technology.
Yes.
He sees technology not as a threat to the church, but as a tool that can be used to connect with people, share the gospel, and build community in new and innovative ways.
That's right.
So it's about embracing those digital platforms.
Yes.
You know, social media, online streaming services, virtual small groups, and using them strategically to expand your reach and impact.
That's right.
Especially when it comes to reaching younger generations who've grown up in a digital world.
They're digital natives.
Yeah, they are.
They expect churches to have an online presence. And if you're not there, you're missing out.
Absolutely.
On a huge opportunity to connect with them.
Now, another point that Fletcher makes that I think is so important is the need for diversity.
Yes.
He argues that churches should strive to reflect the diversity of their communities.
Yes.
Embracing people.
That's right.
From all walks of life.
He sees diversity as a strength, not a weakness. Pointing out that it enriches the life of the church. And makes it a more accurate reflection of the kingdom of God.
So it's a reminder that the gospel is for everyone.
It is.
Regardless of race. Ethnicity. Socioeconomic status.
That's right.
Or anything else that might divide us.
100%.
And when we come together as a diverse community, we're showing the world the transformative power of God's love.
Absolutely. He challenges churches to move beyond their comfort zones and to intentionally create a welcoming and inclusive environment for everyone.
He writes, we must create environments that are attractive and comfortable for people of all races, ethnicities, and socioeconomic backgrounds.
Yes, a powerful call to action.
It is.
And it requires us to examine our own biases and prejudices.
It does.
And to be willing to do the hard work of creating a truly inclusive community.
And as we wrap up our deep dive, I want to circle back to something that Fletcher emphasizes throughout the book.
Okay.
This importance of focusing on the spiritual growth.
Yes.
Of individuals.
Yeah.
Not just on numerical growth.
Right. It's about making disciples, not just members.
Exactly.
Helping people grow in their relationship with God.
Right.
Equipping them to live out their faith in practical ways.
Yeah.
Empowering them to share that faith with others. And he argues that when churches prioritize spiritual growth, numerical growth often follows.
It does.
As a natural byproduct.
Yeah, when people are experiencing the transformative power of the gospel in their own lives,
right,
they can't help but share it with others.
Exactly.
Their lives become a testament to the love and grace of God, drawing others in.
It's a beautiful ripple effect.
It is.
And I think it's a powerful reminder for churches of all sizes.
Yeah.
It's not about building bigger buildings or creating flashier programs.
Yeah.
It's about investing in people, nurturing their spiritual growth, and sending them out to be the hands and feet of Jesus in the world.
This deep dive into overcoming barriers to church growth has been so insightful.
It has been.
And inspiring.
Yes, it's given me...
Fletcher gives us a lot to think about.
It has.
And a lot to put into practice.
A renewed sense of hope and excitement.
Yeah.
About the possibilities for church growth. And I'm eager to see how these principles can be applied in my own context.
One of the most impactful takeaways for me is that church growth is a journey.
It is.
Not a destination.
Yeah.
It's a continual process of learning, adapting, and growing.
Yes.
And it requires us to be open to new ideas.
Absolutely.
Willing to challenge the status quo.
Yes.
And above all else, committed to putting people first.
That's right.
Absolutely.
It's about trusting God to guide us each step of the way.
Yes.
And embracing the adventure of faith as we seek to grow and expand his kingdom.
And speaking of adventure, Fletcher ends the book with an analogy that I think perfectly encapsulates this idea of church growth as a team effort.
Right.
He writes, church growth is like a team sport.
Yes.
We only have one superstar slot on the roster.
Okay.
And that position is filled.
Great.
The rest of us serve as role players, each in his or her position, each doing his or her part, but we all share in the prize.
It's a beautiful image.
It is.
We're all on the same team, working together to advance God's kingdom.
And no matter what role we play, we can all contribute to the success of the team and experience the joy of seeing God work through us.
This has been a fantastic deep dive.
It has.
Thank you for joining us.
And until next time,
keep
seeking, keep growing,
and
keep shining the light of Christ in the world.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Pages to Dialogues. We hope you enjoyed our discussion and found valuable insights to apply to your life. If you did, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, Pages to Dialogues, for more thought-provoking dialogues on Christian books. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback on this episode. Please leave a comment below and let's continue the conversation. If you know someone who would benefit from our discussions, please share this episode with them. Your support means the world to us. Finally, if you appreciated this episode, please give us a thumbs up and a like. It helps us reach more people and continue creating content that inspires and uplifts. Thanks again for listening, and we look forward to engaging with you on our next episode of Pages to Dialogues.